Alright, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're looking at the expansion to Bruges called City on the Zwin. Alright, so this one's going to have 4 different modules that you can incorporate into the base game. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the setup and rules for each of the 4 modules, and at the end we're going to come back for my sort of thoughts and review on the overall experience. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so the first module we're going to look at is the extra people cards. Alright, so you don't have to do anything special, just throw them into your base game deck. Alright, and the only thing that's going to change is the initial setup of the game. So in the base game, the initial setup is you're going to make about 5 equal decks of about 30 to 35 cards. But with the expansion cards, because there's more cards and you don't want the game to last forever, you're going to make 6 decks of between 30 and 35 cards each. And then you're just going to do like the base game and take as many decks as there are a number of players. So let's say you're playing a 4-player game. You'll take 4 decks. You'll make 2 decks out of these 4 to make your draw pile for the game. Alright, and the other 2 decks, or how many decks that you're not using, are just like the base game. It's going to be the extra deck on the side of the board when one of the 2 draw decks run out. Alright, that's basically the only change. It's just more people adds more variety into your game. Alright, the second module is the dreaded 5th player expansion module. Alright, so for this one, before I start, it's the only module that you need to play with the extra people, or else you cannot play this module, or else you won't have enough cards. Alright, so what comes with this module is, first of all, this extra board. This is going to be where the 5th player is going to put their seal at the guardhouse so that they can track which canals they're building. Alright, you're going to get a new player color, so you're going to get black, meeples, seals, and the majority markers. You're going to get a bunch of extra, components to make up for that extra player, so workers, money, threats, and canal. And lastly, you are going to get 2 statues. Alright, so because of that extra player, there's an extra 2 chances to build a statue. You have an 8 and a 9. You're going to place these on top of the 7 from the base game. There you go. You're just going to play like the base game if you're playing with the extra people, and you're good to go. Alright, the third module is called the Zwin module, and this is about getting extra actions when building canals with these boats over here on the right. Alright, so for setup, just a couple of things you need to do is just have to use this extra board just to track where the boats are going to be. You're going to sort of separate each boat by color, give it a good shuffle, but you know what, in the rules it says leave them face down, but you know what, just always leave them face up because you're going to end up flipping them over in a couple of seconds. Alright, now the rules to this module, pretty simple. Now, in the base game, when there was a 1 or a 2 or a 5 or 6, something would happen during the roll, but now, for 3s and 4s as well, the boats are going to come out. Alright, so whenever you roll a 3 or 4, you're going to get a boat of that color and add it to the river section down here. So in this example here, I'll get a brown one and a yellow one. A brown one and a yellow one. Alright, now for the rest of the turn, how this is going to work is whenever somebody builds a canal, alright, so let's say somebody used a card, paid $1, built a canal. In the base game, that would end this turn. But now, what a player can do is use a worker of the color of a boat and use that action of the boat. Alright, the color of the canal or the character does not have to match the color of the boat. You just have to discard a worker for that boat. So let's say I can discard either a yellow or a brown. So let's say I discarded a brown, and then I would activate this boat. When you activate a boat, you don't discard it. It stays there for the whole round. Alright, or I could have discarded a yellow to activate this boat over here. Alright, so it's just an extra action that somebody can do when building a canal. Alright, now what's going to happen is at the end of the round, what you're going to do is you're going to take all the boats that are currently on the track or in the river, and you're going to toss them out of the game. Alright, and then the next player is going to roll, and then you're going to do the same thing by adding the boats onto the river. Alright, if you ever end up with no boats and you need to add some boats, just shuffle all the boats of that current color that you're missing and create a new draw pile and add those back in. Alright, so let's just go through the different abilities that the boats can give you. Alright, so you have this one, which is pretty simple. You're just going to make $6. The one with the reputation track here is you're going to go up once on the reputation track. The workers here is gaining 3 workers of any color that you want. Alright, so pick any 3 colors you want. This one is interesting. This is actually gaining an extra action for that round. Alright, so normally you only have 4 actions per round. This one's going to give you your 5th action. Alright, you got the one that discards any 2 threat tokens that you may have. They can be the same or 2 different, doesn't matter. And this one is reactivating one of your one-time use characters. Just pick one of the ones that you have and just activate them again, and there you go. That's it. Alright, the fourth module is the market that comes with these scrolls as well. Alright, and this module is all about beefing up one of the 6 different actions you can do in the game every single round. So every single round, one of those 6 actions are going to be a bit more powerful than they normally would be. Alright, so for setup, all you're going to do is you're going to have your deck of market cards here, give it a good shuffle, and you're going to have your scrolls, just put them next to the deck. And what you're going to do is after phase 1, when everyone's finished drawing all their cards, the first player is going to flip over the first market card. And the first thing you're going to look at is the number of scrolls on the left over here, and that's how many of these scrolls you're going to add to the card. Alright, and during phase 3, the card is going to tell you when it gets activated. Alright, so for example, this one says the next 6 players that does the build house action, alright, they're going to get a special ability. So normally when you build a house, you just build a house and that's it. But now you're going to look at the card and you're going to get an extra benefit. Alright, so for example, this one says you don't have to pay a worker to build a house. Normally you would have to pay a worker. Alright, when somebody does that ability, you're going to take a scroll and discard it. Alright, these scrolls just track how many times this ability can be used during that round. Alright, so the next player to do it, another player to do it. When all 6 are done and this ability has been used 6 times, you're just basically going to throw this card into the game box. It's not going to come back. Alright. At the end of a round, if there are still scrolls on this card, pretty simple, you're just going to discard all the scrolls and still toss this card back into the box. And the following turn, after people have drawn all their cards, you'll just flip the next card over, add the scrolls as per usual, and just read the text when somebody does that action, get an extra benefit. Alright, and this is how that module works. Alright, quick review time here for this awesome expansion. So let's take it one module at a time and I'll tell you my thoughts. Alright, so the first module is the extra people. Awesome, awesome, awesome module. Play with it every single time. Just throw it into your base game. You won't even realize they're there. You don't have to teach people new rules or anything like that. They're just more characters, more variety into the game. We already had 160 unique cards. Now you're gonna have 200 unique cards. So a lot of variety is added into the game. You'll never have 2 games that are exactly the same. New combos are gonna arise. Now, what I am gonna say is that there are certain cards in here that I do hate. They all deal with grabbing cards from the discard pile. Now those cards, if I were you, I'd throw them into the game box and never play with them. It adds a lot of AP to the game, especially when somebody plays that. We all have to wait for them to go into the discard pile and see what they're doing. So those cards I would only play with people who've played this game like dozens and dozens of times, so that it doesn't cause the game to drag on. Alright, but normally just play with all the rest of the cards. Awesome stuff. Alright, second module, the 5th player. Alright, normally I would say for most games, never play with 5 players. Alright, I would still rather not play this game with 5 players, but it is actually not that bad. It is a fast game for a heavy Euro or medium weight Euro. You can get this down normally the base game in about an hour 15, an hour 30 if you're pushing it. The 5th player will only add about 15-20 minutes to the overall game length, so you're still under 2 hours, so it's still manageable and still okay. So you could play with it or not, it's not that bad. I would still only play with this with people who are experienced. You do not want to play 5 players with new players. The AP will drag it on and it'll be a terrible experience. All right, keep that in mind. Now let's go to the 3rd module, which is the best part of this whole expansion and a mandatory include in every single game ever of Bruges. All right, and we're going to talk about the Zwin River expansion here. Alright, so this fixes the biggest problem with the base game, where the canals were not powerful enough and you couldn't win by filling up your canals. It was impossible. Just getting people with the points would just give you better benefits and give you more points, and you just crush everyone else. Alright, now with these boats, the canals is something you want to do because each of these actions are free and they're actually amazing. So instead of wasting a card to get 6, well, you can build a canal and then get a free action to get 6. Alright, so just amazing inclusion, and makes the canals really powerful and something that people are actively going to do now on, instead of just ignoring the whole canal track and winning like you would in the base game. And finally, we're going to talk about the 4th module, which is the market cards. All right, now this one I'm lukewarm on. I don't play with this that often. The reason I don't is because it gives a certain one of the 6 different actions a more powerful effect throughout the game, and it's random. All right, it sort of has the same effect as those those Euros that have like a random event that'll happen every single round. I'm usually not a big fan of those, especially if you were not planning to do that action, then you're sort of missing out. It sort of railroad tracks everyone into having to do that action so you get the benefit. All right, you want to get at least once, if not twice, to gain even more benefits, you know. So I don't really like that. I sort of want to strategize my game more instead of having to focus in on this card and having to do that action overall. All right, so those are my thoughts on the overall modules. 2 of them are fantastic, 1 of them lukewarm. The 5th player, you know, leave it or take it, it's fine. So overall, this raises the base game from a 5-on-6 to a 6-on-6. I absolutely love this game. It's probably one of my top 10 Euro games that I have in my collection. I love playing it. The card manipulation, I mean the multi-use cards, amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. All right, so those are my thoughts. Let me know below if you like it. We'll see you on the next one. Later.